And I'm going to kick us off by talking about David Lammy. He delivered a speech so daft that it makes Diane Abbott's reign as Shadow Home Secretary look like, well, world award-winning material. He says that climate change is a bigger threat than terrorism or war. And enter the global clean power absurdity. He's actually went on the world stage and signed up a total sum of nobody. Lamentable Lammy waving his virtue signalling flag on the world stage comes at a time while our debt has hit 100% of our gross domestic product, a milestone that hasn't been achieved since actual World War II. But sure, my friends, let's splash the cash. £12 billion on foreign climate change victims. Genius, eh? Britain's real vulnerability, to me, is energy policies that mean we import coal that we need for steel and cement from abroad, all thanks to this nut zero policy. We've binned well-paid jobs here so we can ship in that coal from elsewhere. If we went to war, we'd be about as match fit as a limp lettuce. And here's a fun stat for you. Since 2005, 95 people in Britain have been murdered in Islamist attacks. The far right, 3 of them. Islamism takes up 75% of MI5's time. But you wouldn't know that if you listened to this hysterical climate clown. How exactly does 1% of global CO2 emissions that we produce pose a bigger threat than terrorism here at home? And while we're at it, Sir Keir People's champion Starmer is listening to farmers while refusing to rule out slashing their budget alongside pensioners' budgets at a time when energy prices are going up. If we've got no farms, we've got no food. It's really that simple. Labour's plan, to me, is to turn farmland into wind farmland. And believe me, there's plenty of wind coming out that man's gob. The man is a walking fraud. Britain's only crisis is this hysterical virtue signalling by elites more worried about global brownie points than keeping this country secure. Take your fine fashion clobber and do one. I've had enough. Anyway, I should be hung up more often, shouldn't I?
That's it, debate over.
That's it, yeah. We'll end the show there. Andy Williams.
Hello.
Hello. What do you make of that?
I think what David Lammy was actually saying is that climate change is a fundamental long-term threat to the UK and to the world. It comes with opportunities as well as threats. We have a massive opportunity to become a leader in the global green economy. If we invest in the right technologies, we can create jobs that don't yet exist. So there's opportunity as well as threat. But the key thing is the cumulative death toll from rises in global temperatures since 2000 is 4 million. That is a huge number, and that's according to the UN. That's a huge number of people who have died as a result of climate change. And so what David Lammy is saying is this is a long-term existential threat and it needs to be tackled.
Renee, I don't know about you, but when I walk around on the streets of London, I fear being stabbed by some jihadi. You know, I've had threats on the streets of London, as many viewers know. I actually don't walk out fearing a gust of wind.
No. I mean, look, I think it's really interesting that he used those words. And actually, for the Foreign Secretary, who is supposed to be the person who can, you know, engender good relationships all around the world with all leaders of the world, to actually say something like terrorism is worse than the threat from climate change, perhaps he should go and speak to the parents of the children killed by terrorism at the Manchester Arena when they were blown up for attending a concert. It's inhumane, it's completely tone deaf, and it lacks empathy. And I think he's just demonstrating again that he's not fit for such a high office as the Foreign Secretary. He really isn't.
He's actually done a really good job of building, of strengthening and rebuilding our relationships.
Oh, stop it. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I cannot listen to you any longer. He even turns up. He even turns up to meet a world leader in grubby, you know, old trainers. Oh, please, have some respect.
Especially after you've just been given a load of clobber by this rich donor.
Well, we don't know whether David Lammy has.
Exactly. Now, why doesn't he put...
I think he has. I think he has.
He has. Yeah, he has. He's another one to add to the list. So why doesn't he put his energies into looking at the other countries that really do have high emissions, like China, America,
Absolutely.
India. Why? Look, our economy is hurting at the minute. Why is he doing this to the economy? And frankly, I don't think he knows what he's doing. I think he's out of his
and
depth.
you mentioned there on the world stage that David Lammy is this new intellectual colossus. But actually, I would argue that no one has signed up to his global, whatever it's called, this new Clean Power Alliance.
They are actually, most world leaders and most of his counterparts would agree with him.
New initiative, no one signed up to it. No country has. He is making us look like a clown show.
Look like fools.
You know, the clown may have changed, but the circus is still the same as far as Labour's concerned.
We are trying to establish a global leadership position on an issue that all world leaders, all serious world leaders, agree is massively important.
Alex?
They do.
Well, look, listen, I think this whole net zero agenda is designed and is hurting the poorest people in our society.
Yeah.
And Labour is meant to be the party of the working class and the poorest. All this party's done since it's got into power is punish those same people. It's saying it's going to bring down energy prices. That's part of Keir Starmer's commitment. But if anything, energy prices are going to go back up alongside inflation. And all at a time, we've got Ed Miliband parading around with a ukulele, singing about how wind farms are going to save the country. They're not.
No.
What's going to save people in this country is turning on oil and gas and shipping more of it to
Andy,
rich
on
people.
that point about wind farms and solar farms, do you worry about the impact that it'll have on actual land to produce food for farming and things like that? Because Labour have said that considering cutting the budget, at least they didn't rule it out, cutting the budget of farming support, subsidy.
Well, I don't think it should be. I don't think it needs to be an either or. I think we obviously need to protect farming. It's a really, really important industry.
But call me.
Of course it is.
We also.
But are they doing this deliberately to make up their summer land so that he can, help out some more green subsidies to pave over the countryside?
Well, we do need more wind farms and we do need more solar farms.
We need.
It's
Oh,
important
please.
that
What about our farmers? They're not only fleecing our pensioners, now our farming industry. You have to look at what they're doing and what they're giving, to foreign aid, 9 billion, to climate change, over 11.3 billion.
Well,
the first order of any government is to look after its own people. David Lammy is not doing that.
I mean, if you want to talk about foreign aid, actually that's a really important tool of soft power, and I think the fact that we don't invest 0.7% of GDP in it anymore is a shame, and I think it's weakened our global leadership position.
All right, we'll leave that there and let Andy stew.
Have you got what it takes to be a reasoned presenter? Well, send us a short clip of yourself to join@reasoned.uk and we might be seeing you on this very channel very soon indeed.